evening. You're watching Mirror Now. I'm Faye. This is the Urban Debate. Thank you for joining us. We've had a long and a very exciting day, but it's not over yet. The governor of Karnataka has chosen to hold his cards close to his chest, and he has not told us which way he is going to decide. He is also, from what we understand, consulting with various experts to figure out what is the right thing to do. The big questions that we're asking this evening are obviously these. Where does the BJP plan to get its extra 8 seats from? Will the anti-defection law prevent members of the JDS and the Congress from voting against their party? So what does that leave the BJP with? Is it good for Karnataka to be without a government for this long? Which way should the governor of Karnataka be deciding? But before we bring in our panelists, my colleague Mandar Fanse is on the ground. He's been on the ground since 6 a.m. today, tracking everything that's going on in Bangalore. Mandar, what is the latest update? We got some information from you saying there's a high-level meeting, a huddle going on among the Congress party, but any word from the BJP?
As of now, there is no word from BJP as such, apart from tomorrow morning call at 8:30 at the BJP office, because the BJP legislative party's meeting is convened in the morning. So obviously that the BJP would decide amongst their MLAs their own strategy, apart from choosing their own leader, which is obviously Mr. Yediyurappa. Apart from that, right now here at the Ashoka Hotel, high-level meeting of Congress is happening. There are talks about possible visit through the night of JDS leaders, maybe Mr. Kumaraswamy. So this is one of the major happenings and expectations happening here as far as the Ashoka Hotel meeting of all Congress big leaders are concerned, right from the state leaders to most of the leaders who have flown in from Delhi, be it Ashok Gehlot, be it Ghulam Nabi Azad. All people have huddled here from Congress, and most of the time when we were talking about this particular situation with the senior leaders here from the Congress, they were little apprehensive about a possibility of not being called for making for the government, because obviously this is what is their fear was through their talks.
Right, and of course there was drama through the day when the JDS and the Congress felt that they were not going to be called in. There was actually a point in the day when the leaders of the two parties were camping outside of Raj Bhavan in Bangalore. But the governor was very clear that he wouldn't meet anybody until the final numbers were out and all the votes were counted. But to be fair, all the votes are yet to be counted. There are 3 more seats that haven't been declared, but this is where we are. 104 for the BJP, 78 for the Congress, 38 for the JDS, and 2 for the others. Let me introduce my panel. Siddharth Bhatia, founding editor of The Wire, very senior journalist. Sunil Alag, founder and chairman of SK Advisors. Nalin Kohli, national spokesperson for the BJP. Aman Sinha, spokesperson for the BJP, will join us through the course of this conversation. So will Salman Soos. Sangeet Kumar Ragi joins us as well, and Mr. KTS Tulsi, Member of Parliament, Rajya Sabha, and Senior Advocate with the Supreme Court. Vinay Tiwari, Senior Consulting Editor for the Times Network. I'm going to start with Mr. KTS Tulsi and Mr. Nalin Kohli, the 2 legal voices on this panel who I believe will be at opposite ends of the discussion. Mr. Tulsi, opening arguments from you is why you believe, if you do believe, the governor ought to call on the JDS and the Congress first.
Yes, I think that the principal concern for the governor is to be able to give to the people of Karnataka a stable government. And for that, he has to ascertain as to who has the numbers, who has the majority, because without majority in the House, there cannot be any stable government. Therefore, if there is an alliance which claims majority, either 116 or 118, then they will have to be invited first and explore the option, because if you can't call the single largest party which is in minority, and then the government may fall on the second day. Therefore, The principal concern is to give the people of Karnataka the most stable government that is possible, and if that doesn't happen, then only the single largest party can be called. Of course, we have the president of Goa, president of Manipur, president of Meghalaya, and the president of Bihar.
All right, Mr. Nalin Kohli, your rebut for that.
Well, there are two parts to it. On the political front, there's a separate argument. On the legal, separate. On the political front, the mandate is not for the Congress because they've been ejected out of government and they clearly are nowhere close to the halfway mark. The mandate is not for the JDS also. There is no pre-poll alliance between the two. And there is an assumption of stability at the moment. If stability is to be that factor, there is an assumption on it. Even as we speak on different channels that I've been participating, there are already reports coming in of fractures even within the Congress party. But these are reports. I'm not the party to it. I'm just saying what I've heard on channels. Now let's come to the legal position. The legal position is established by one thing. Let's forget about the governor for a minute. The legal position is that the floor test is the ultimate test. There is no greater test in democracy. What happens on the floor of the House? For which whoever goes in for the floor test, it's a vote of confidence or a vote of no confidence. Now in the floor test, in terms of it, that is established by the Bommai judgment, 9-judge, and then the Rameshwar judgment, which is 5-judge. Now therefore, now let's come to the role of the governor. In terms of it, there have been primarily the past has been in terms of inviting the single largest party. Later on, it became the pre-poll alliance. And there have been situations also where post-poll alliances have happened when it is clear that there is no stability. In Goa, the Congress never staked that claim. In Meghalaya, where I was Prabhari myself, the Congress with 21, NPP with 19, the Congress didn't have any support because the UDP and the HSPDP, which was a pre-poll alliance, clearly came with the NPP. Other parties came in. The BJP, which had 2, were
And
actually
BJP
part
only
of it,
2.
become part of it after the NPP government crossed the halfway. Yes, sir, I was part, I've run that election, I was part of the result and I've sat through all of it. And the BJP joined that government after they had already crossed the magic figure of 30. So therefore, that's not a precedent that you can count on. Now let's come to the question here. With regard to precedent, the governors of various states have acted on both. It has to be seen, and the governor is in his right. That institution has to determine on its own call. It may seek advice from others, etc. For now, the governor has said, let the final results come out. So therefore, he will ascertain after that. Our belief is, since the mandate is against the Congress, not for the JDS, the two of them, in terms of stability, that message already does not seem to be coming through anywhere except on TV channels by spokespersons of the party. In that context, the stability factor also drives it to the party which is single largest, closest to the halfway mark.
But Mr. Kohli, I want to bring this in at this point. You are closest to the halfway mark, but you're not there yet. You're short of 8 seats. Where are those 8 seats going to come from?
Nobody is. Well, that's a matter of strategy. Very simply to put it like this, we can argue anything we wish, but there is no straitjacket rule that can apply except the flow test, which is determined by law and judicial pronouncements. So therefore, that is the only determined factor. Everything else that's there is part of the dance of democracy, if I may use that term. Basically, to put it like this, there is an assumption of stability that is being made in terms of a no pre-poll alliance between the JDS and with the Congress. We certainly know there is no assumption in the mandate being against them. So let us see. For example, what reports that I have sat on another debate is that within the Congress there is disquiet. There is disquiet about going with the JDS of some Congress leaders. Likewise, in the JDS, there is disquiet. So therefore, nothing is
Allow
clear.
Mr. Tulsi to rebut. Allow Mr. Tulsi a rebut.
That's wishful thinking. I think that's all wishful thinking. The question really is that there is only one combination of two parties which has the majority. They have come together, they have staked a claim to form the government, and the governor can't go into anything else. He has to give them the time to prove their majority on the floor of the House. I agree with Nalin that ultimate test is the floor of the House. But on the floor of the House, there should be reasonable possibility. Now, you can't say, I have a strategy. You may have a strategy, but what is the strategy on the ground which the governor will follow? The governor can't invite a minority party. So if there is somebody who has majority, some combination, they have to be given the first opportunity of being able to prove it on the floor of the House. Either
Right.
they win or they don't.
Right,
After
so
all, BJP government in the central government center once lasted only 13 days. That's not it. People of Karnataka deserve a government. You can't say that will inflict another election on you.
So let me introduce to our audience the anti-defection law. It basically says that a candidate
Let
will
me
be
give a-
disqualified, Mr. Kohli, if he wins an election from one party using one party's ticket and then joins another party after the win under the anti-defection law. Members so disqualified may stand for elections with the other party from the seat of the same house. Now, in this particular scenario, the BJP stands to benefit if Congress or JDS MLAs decide to defect from their party in this manner and get disqualified, thereby not being able to vote. Is that the strategy you were referring to?
No, I'm just saying these have all been real scenarios in the 70 years that we've been a democracy. All have existed. So when you're talking about it, let me also point out, for example, why I said the president is there for the single largest party also. If Mr. Tulsi points out the counter, then my argument is also that there is the president also of the single largest. Let's take the case of Vajpayee ji. He didn't succeed in 96. He couldn't prove it, so he resigned. In 98, the government fell with one vote, and that's what I mean by strategy. The Vajpayee government should not have lost that no confidence motion. There was no reason why it should have with that one vote. It was revealed then Girdhar Gamang voted both. So therefore, this is part of that entire dance of democracy, as I said. You can't make an assumption only to suit yourself, because in this case, since we are so close to the halfway mark, at 104, there is an assumption we can't get the numbers, as there is a counter assumption that the numbers on the other side are absolutely rock solid. They may not be so.
All right, so here are the arguments that both Mr. Tulsi and Mr. Kohli have put forward. Mr. Tulsi said form the government as quickly as possible, form the most stable government, which in this case he believes is the JDS and Congress combination. Mr. Nalin Kohli says there is no mandate for the JDS-Congress combination. You should allow for a floor test. The mandate is with the BJP, and that is why the BJP should be invited to form the government. There is the question also of how will you get people to break away from their respective parties and vote for your party? Will that involve money changing hands, favors changing hands? Something has to change hands. Why would people do it any other way? I'm going to open this up to the panel right now. Vinay, your response to both of those arguments?
No, well, look, for the first things first, I think Nalin is perhaps the first BJP spokesperson, and a very erudite one at that, who's actually very correctly said that there are precedences of both types. I mean, till this time, BJP spokespersons were maintaining that the governor is absolutely necessary to invite the single largest party, which Nalin has very correctly and legally pointed out that there are precedences of both types on the legal front. And he's also been careful enough to make a distinction between the legality and the political fight, which is the right way to look at it. And I think this comment also tells you that pretty much the game is still open. The BJP is not going to give up this without a fight. They are still going to try and form a government, and possibly they have every right to do so in the way the democracy works. The larger question and the more important question is, what are the means and methods that will be used to ensure that they get those 8 to 10 extra MLAs that they need? Very obviously, as of right now, there seems to be no other option but to either indulge in some bit of horse trading or break a party or win over some MLAs by some allurement or the other. Certainly not the goodness of heart as some of the other leaders were earlier suggesting.
Yeah, that some good guys will decide to vote the other way. Sangeet Kumar Ragi, where do you stand on this matter? And I just want to stay with this one point. Will the BJP make a more stable government? Because they're still short of 8 seats.
2 quick points. First, this question can be, approached from 2 perspectives. One is the spirit of democracy and the mandate that has been, given by the people of Karnataka. The spirit of democracy and the mandate that we have today is with the BJP and not with the combination, which fought against each other, and largely the seat went to actually JDS is against the Congress party. Secondly, as far as a stable government, this is the key. This is the key. If the governor thinks under its discretion, again I am repeating, under Article 167 of the Constitution, he has discretionary power, and in the given scenario, if he understands and if he thinks that the stable government is can be provided by A or B, he is within the right and within the constitutional right to invite that party to form the government. So the here is that who is going to convince. As far as this combination is concerned, as Mr. Tulsi was talking about, that this is going to give a a stable government. We all know how what fate Chandrasekhar government made when Rajiv Gandhi propped up a government for the convenience, for sake of convenience, for few times for temporary period of time, and how they pulled down the government. Here also, in this case also, it is difficult to understand. It is difficult to understand that this combination is going to give a stable government when there is an internal bickering within the Congress party as well as within
Alright,
JDS.
so Sangeet Kumar Ragi, here are the questions. Here are the questions that come up based on your argument. Question number one: you said this is in spirit of the democracy. So how would you then term the governments of Goa and Manipur? Was that not in spirit of democracy? And secondly, if you say that a coalition is not stable, the BJP will still have to look outside of itself for those extra 8 seats, resulting in some form of coalition.
Look, two quick points I would like to make. First thing, that as I told you, that the key factor which is going to convince and which the governor should rely upon is the stability factor. If the governor is convinced that this is going to give us the a stable government, then a governor is within the right to invite that person to form the government. Number one. Number two, what I was talking about that. Look, this. Hello.
Yes, you made that point. My question to you is what makes you think that if you said coalitions are unstable, how will a coalition, which is obviously what the BJP needs to do in order to reach the halfway mark, how will that be a more stable coalition than this one?
Look, if you remember Narsingh Rao government.
I'm talking about this particular case. No, Sangeet Kumar Ragi, I'm talking about this particular case. We could go on until very late at night talking about cases in the past, but you made a statement about this particular case.
That the people within, I'm just trying to call upon, the consciousness of individual, why it should be decided by the high command of the Congress party or the BJP or anybody else. Let them decide how they are going to conduct themselves on the floor of the House.
But I don't think that's how it works. All right, fair enough. Let's get an answer to that question. Let's get an answer to that question. Siddharth Bhatia, would you explain to my viewers, please, what a party whip is and why it's important in this particular case?
See, all along, so far we are talking about who the governor will call. There's still the question of the floor test. Now, winning the floor test can happen only if you have the sufficient numbers.
So the governor will call, and then
Let us
the
assume
assembly
the governor
happens,
calls,
and then the floor test.
Yeah.
Is that how it works?
Yeah, and it gives 3 days, 5 days, whatever, etc. And it says that, okay, prove it. Now, within that time, that party has to prove. If it still has a minority numbers, less than 50% numbers, there are all kinds of stratagems, political stratagems. You can ask a few people on the other side to abstain. It's dangerous for them because the party whip, as we've been discussing, is a very clear-cut message from the high command, from the leader, the whip of the legislative party, to say if you go against us, you are liable to be expelled or disqualified. So that party whip, it's something that all democracies have and take very seriously. Second, some could, if there is no whip, say for example, which is highly unlikely, some people could just abstain. Some people could resign, in which case we have been using the phrase horse trading.
Invites disqualification.
And invite disqualification. But they could resign tactically, strategically, but then we enter the phase of horse trading, and let's face it, we know what horse trading actually means. Let's not give it a euphemistic cover. We know what it means.
So large amounts of money are paid to one individual to either go against his party, get disqualified, get expelled from his party, have to recontest the entire election because he could get disqualified as an MLA. And in order to make somebody do that, normally money exchanges.
And of course, the most extreme theories of defection, which, as you know, has to be 2/3. So it's all kinds of
So
possibilities
explain
exist.
defection to us.
No, so defection is very clear. You know, your one person can't defect, he has to quit. So there is a proportion that the law mandates, and if that many numbers move out, now, have you got the arrangements or have you made the arrangements for that many people to move out? So getting these 8 is where it's going to be.
Is where it's going to
Let
be
us say let's say the BJP is called and it can't get those 8s, it falls on the floor of the House.
So theoretically, upside of what Siddharth is saying, which of course, as he said, I mean, two-thirds walkover from JDS to BJP, of course, there is no anti-defection law. But there is another possibility which has been tried out in the past, which is to engineer resignations of an X number of people, which brings down the effective strength of the assembly in the House.
Why would anybody resign?
Well, the obvious reason
we talked
for
about
do
investments
would be
this
that
morning.
you're offering
Good
them
people,
something in
good
return.
people.
Obviously, yes, it's not for the goodness of the heart for sure.
Nobody does it for the goodness of the heart.
The strategy of reducing the effective strength of the House by making some people resign, and then of course later on in a by-election ensuring that they win, has been used in the past, and I think that is one. A little outlandish maybe, but that is technically a possibility that does exist in any similar scenario that may happen in an assembly.
So someone who would have, and we understand from what people have told us on the ground, candidates have told us on the ground, they've spent upwards of 3 to 6 crore rupees per candidate on their campaigns. To get someone to resign at this point, you have to make good that investment.
And a little bit more,
And
and
a little bit
multiples.
more, and multiples. Nalin Kohli, is that the strategy?
Can I make a small comment? Can I make a small comment?
No, one second. Nalin Kohli, you said it depends on
make a-
strategy. What is the strategy on the
Excuse
ground?
me, can I get any word in?
Yes, I'm coming to you. I just want Nalin Kohli to respond to this because he was the one who brought up the BJP strategy. Is this the strategy, Nalin Kohli? To get people to resign so that you will be able to pass your floor
I'm
test?
not the correct person to answer to you. No, I can't. And a fair answer is I don't know and I can't comment on it because first we've got our different steps. There's going to be a parliamentary party meeting. They will elect a leader. At the moment, the governor has called no. He's waiting for the final results. The results are still not declared fully. So therefore, when they are declared, then it's up to the governor. So therefore, I can't really comment on this. Y'all are entitled to make all the comments y'all wish and, you know, look at the various aspects. I can speak clearly. The legal position is absolutely clear. Floor test is the ultimate test. We can sit down and call all the ills of what we may refer to the ills of democracy and all, but democracy functions on the basic principle. Voters elect a person, they are entitled to elect a person. XYZ doesn't like the person, likes the person, doesn't have a value. What values is the voters have elected a person. Once elected, now it is left to that person. Some of them function in a group, some function
Yes,
individually.
yes. We were explaining
Thereafter,
democracy to
all
us
the
now.
scenarios that have been spoken about from 1950 onwards till now, they are realities. So therefore, they are not in breakdown of any law. They are not
Right.
in breakdown of any constitutional position.
Fair enough,
The
because
election
you
laws have
said,
been coming up
Mr.
also.
Kohli,
That's
you
why
said that
got
we're
first
free to discuss
just to
various
finish my last
possibilities.
sentence. First,
Unfortunately, this
you
seems like
had
the only
defection law,
possibility
which
at
was
this
not
point.
there. Then you had 1/3. Now it's 2/3.
Right. You said we're free to discuss,
Can't
various
predict that, Faye,
possibilities,
because
but this
we don't
seems
know.
like the only possibility. How else
No,
will you get
you are
8 people
looking
to
at
break
it.
away from their original
I'll
parties
answer
and
that.
join you?
No. Because there are two assumptions being made here. The first assumption is that the BJP has been called, and the second assumption is that the BJP needs to make the numbers only based on this. Now I can make two counter assumptions, that the JDS and the Congress don't get together. The JDS and the Congress find it uneasy to get together in light of the campaign, in light of their stated positions. So then in that assumption, all the assumptions you are making against the BJP don't survive.
No, but you know, your assumption that the JDS and the Congress won't get together, but they've had press conferences together, they've met with the governor together, there's a signed letter that has gone in, and let Salman Soz respond to that. Salman Soz joins us right now, national spokesperson of the Congress. Respond to one of the possibilities Nalin Kohli puts out is that your alliance, your day-old alliance, will break. It's actually not a day old; it's a few hours old.
Yeah, a few hours old. Yeah.
I think Nalin Kohli has conveniently forgotten a lot of their own alliances. They have an alliance in J&K with a party that is diametrically opposed to BJP's ideology, and they made a mess out here. The Congress and the JDS at least have secularism in common. And so I think that's one part of it. The other part is Nalin should also remember that in Goa, not only did the BJP, not have a mandate, their sitting chief minister was beaten, and in the elections they got 12 seats. We had 17. We were 3 short, and we were not allowed to, we were not allowed to go for a floor test as the single largest party. In Manipur, we were 2 short. One independent MLA was arrested at the tarmac of the airport and handed over to the BJP. So we know the machinations that BJP has kind of, engaged in. The Prime Minister today very sanctimoniously said that we should respect the Constitution. If he is truly respectful of the Constitution, then the President Kovind should instruct the governor to invite the Congress and the JDS as the largest formation with viable numbers to come and go for the floor test. I mean, I don't really understand how exactly is the governor going to determine whether a stable government can take shape with the BJP when they have only 101 seats right now, and in three they're leading. I don't understand how can you determine this? You have MLAs, they go and contest an election. At the end of the election, there are parties, there are 2 of them, they come together and say, you know what, we could not win this election individually, now we will come together and form the government. We have 116 seats. Oh, by the way, we have 2 more independents who will join us. We have 118. Let us form the government. What do you want? You have not, Nalin, you have not been able to win the confidence of the people of Karnataka. We have more votes, by the way. Our vote share is 2 percentage points higher than yours. What more do you want now?
What more do you want?
Please stay to the side. Let us form the government.
Sunil Alagh will make his opening statement, Nalin, and then you can respond. Sunil Alagh, go ahead, please.
I also want to come.
Look, I've been listening to all the politicians and I'm not one. So I'm just going to make a very simple point that, look, everywhere that BJP formed the government, they said anyone joining me, they became the chief minister. In this case, it's the tail that is going to wag the dog. So that's the unusual part in this particular alliance. That's all the simple point that I want to make. This is the first time, whether you take Goa, whether you take anywhere else that they have been quoting, it's always the BJP who got other people, and BJP formed the government as their chief minister. Here the Congress appears to be so desperate that they are allowing anyone to become chief minister as long as they remain in power. So that's the one unusual part in this particular alliance.
Mr. Kumaraswamy is a former chief minister. He's not just anyone.
Let the governor call them and let them fall. I mean,
no. One second, Mr. Alagh.
Faye, all I'm saying is,
allow me to step in here. Mr. Kumaraswamy is a former chief minister of the state of Karnataka. He's not just anyone. I don't think it's fair to call him just anyone, is it?
1 second. All I'm saying is, this concept of hiding all your MLAs only happens in India. If you're that confident of your MLAs, let them be. What's your problem? You're again whisking them away in a secret place. Again, you're going to pull them out. That means you're not that confident anymore. So if you're not confident, if I was in the BJP, I'd say form it. You're not going to fall. Let the governor call them. I mean, what is this debate that is taking place? I don't understand, because I don't know the law and I'm not a politician. You cannot have a large party which is taking a smaller party and saying, please become chief minister. This is equally ridiculous. It's not going to last. Whether 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, they're going for another election or a governor's rule. I mean, you all can carry on debating till the cows come home,
I understand what Mr. Alagh is saying, but I don't think party taking a smaller party and making anyone chief minister is an argument that holds. Vinay, you want to rebut that?
Don't hide your MLAs. If you're that confident, why are you hiding your MLAs?
The only point that I am saying in response to what...
Leave them open.
The only point I'm making in response to what Sunil is saying, to the specific point about anybody as a chief minister, we have in a country, we've had a situation where an independent MLA has ended up becoming the chief minister of a coalition government. Madhu Koda became the chief minister as an independent MLA. He didn't belong to any single party. So anybody actually can end up becoming the chief minister in this country. So I think that argument is a different one altogether.
And the argument of a smaller party, we must remember this is the south of India, and the south has regional parties in all the states. The larger national parties don't have that much of a role to play. It's the regional parties that play the role. So I don't think it's fair to call them smaller parties. These are region-specific parties.
You give me an example in a state where the smaller party is the chief minister. That's all I'm asking.
Why not?
I'm asking you, give me an example in any
No,
state.
but I'm giving you an example
where
of
the
a
smaller
unattached
party makes
person
the
becoming
chief
a
minister,
CM.
becomes the chief
Sunil.
minister.
Well, if we took Jammu and Kashmir,
That's all.
I'll give an example.
isn't Jammu and Kashmir an example of that? The
Jammu and
larger
Kashmir,
coalition
the larger
member
party
is the
chief
BJP.
minister.
There is also
BJP
another
never got
example
the
in our
number
very
of
state,
seats. Tell me
Maharashtra.
one place
NCP got
where
more seats.
the larger party is not the chief minister. That's all I'm asking.
Jammu and
Mr.
Kashmir
Devgowda
right now,
became
Mr.
Prime
Ala.
I want to
Minister.
learn right now
can
from
I
all
respond
of
to
you all.
that?
Can I
Where
respond
the
to
larger
Mr.
party
Alag?
says
Yes,
you be
please
the
go
chief
ahead.
minister.
Mr. Alag, you are right when you say you're
Mr.
not a
Devgowda
politician,
became
but
Prime Minister.
I presume you're a political observer, a very astute political
I'm saying
observer.
I want to learn.
We are sitting in Bombay. The Chief Minister of Maharashtra was a congressman. The number of seats won by the NCP was more by the Congress. So I think that, you've gone down the wrong track, I'm afraid. That is hardly the argument.
But the tie-up was there before. I'm not talking about the
No,
tie-up
it's
post.
Mr.
The
Alag,
tie-up
Mr.
between
Alag,
You
it's-
asked to
NCP
give an
and Congress was there in the
example, and I'm
beginning.
giving you an
give you-
example.
We could give you plenty of examples, in fact. Salman Soos wants to respond. Salman, please go ahead.
I think, honestly, this is a facetious
I need to
argument.
move after this.
Look, Sunil, I know you're not a politician. Sunil, I know you're not a politician, but you're a supporter of the BJP. That's okay. The point is, we have MLAs who determine who
No, I'm a
becomes chief
supporter of
minister and who
Modi.
forms
I
the
stand
government.
corrected.
There are
I'm not a
116
supporter of
MLAs.
BJP, so
There
I'm
are
a supporter of Mr. Modi like a lot
You
of
can be a supporter of
industrialists.
anybody,
Okay,
you
that's
know.
all.
All right,
I'm
okay,
not a
you're
supporter
yes,
of
and
BJP.
Modi
Don't-
Modi belongs to
don't
and Modi
misquote
does not
me.
belong.
That's all.
All right.
No,
Modi
it doesn't.
All
Please,
right.
again, okay,
You're a
Mr.
supporter of
Soos,
Modi, and
you want
Modi
me to
does not
explain
belong
it
to
you?
BJP.
Everybody's understood.
All
Okay,
right,
hang on,
come on.
hang on.
Let me
Nalin
finish.
Kohli needs to
Soos,
leave, so I'm
let
going to
me
quickly take
explain.
a
Sunil,
question
let me
with Nalin
finish,
Kohli. One
please.
second, Salman,
Carry on.
Sunil, let me
Nalin,
finish. Let me
if you
finish.
have
Let me
a
finish.
clearer
Let me
answer
finish.
to the point
Let me
that Salman Soos had made earlier and you wanted to respond to him, please go ahead and do so now.
Yeah.
Well, I have some news for you, Faye. I can stay another 10 minutes. I think there
that's
is
good news. All right.
some technical issues with my next show.
Okay.
So I just thought I'd
So then
share
let
that
me
with you.
respond
But
to
yes,
Sunil.
coming back to what Mr. Soos was saying, I had a few interesting, I thought Mr. Soos made some very fascinating points. He referred to the Constitution and he wished that the Constitution should be followed in letter and spirit, while saying that they got larger vote share but not number of seats. My understanding of the Constitution, limited as it is as a practicing advocate, is from 50 till now, India as a constitutional democracy, parliamentary democracy, does not have a system where the number of votes counts. What counts is the number of seats, either in the Legislative Assembly or in the Lok Sabha. So now the Congress party is looking for an argument beyond the Constitution, not even conceptualized in the Constitution from the Constituent Assembly till date. So therefore that argument has no value. The second is the absolutely inspiring track record of the Congress party creating minority governments. There was Mr. Chandrasekhar, there was Mr. Devagowda also, there was Mr. I.K. Gujral also. There has also been the case of state governments where they've extended support conveniently for stability. So when the stability argument comes, the precedent against the Congress is so glaringly, absolutely against them that it does not inspire confidence of anyone. The third argument is with regard to Mr. Siddaramaiah. Since we are talking politics, let's not forget, Mr. Siddaramaiah is the Congress party's gift, forcibly taken out of the JDS, who functioned as chief minister. There is a history there. So when I said that sitting on TV panels where everyone is taking a view that everything is stable, hunky-dory, that is not the case, which is also being reported in the media. There are problems there. So therefore, this entire assumption against the BJP, I won't accept. I think there are serious problems on the other side too.
Well, I also want to point out to the audience that yes, there is a history really between Siddaramaiah as an individual and Devagowda as family. But right now in the BBMP, which is Bangalore's Nagarpalika, there is a coalition between the two of them in which the JDS has fewer seats, but they have given a coalition to support.
There is a history between Mr. Siddaramaiah and the BJP,
Yes.
very strong one, and they parted as extreme enemies. So there are histories. In India, every party has a history, good and bad, mostly bad, but it works out when the convenience factor.
Yes.
So that I don't think we should think about.
Right, and now, Mr. Tulsi, I want you to respond to this. Nalin Kohli said the precedent against the Congress is that it doesn't show great stability. Is that the mode on which stability in this particular case should be decided by the governor, or should it be decided based on numbers?
Why stability?
Yes. Go ahead, Mr. Tulsi.
You see, question is who has the numbers for the purpose of getting an invite from the governor. Now, the governor will obviously invite somebody who at least on paper shows the majority. And if there is only one party which can show the majority, then the governor will invite that party and ask them to prove it on the floor of the House. It's not that he has to run to the BJP and ask them, what do I do? Because this is the president of the BJP. This is what happened in Goa, that's what happened. You see, what is a strategy? What is the euphemism for strategy? Strategy means horse trading. Strategy means corruption, cash. The entire Bomai judgment is to bring about constitutional sanity in the electoral process and the government formation. And all that was required to be done, all these principles were laid down in Bomai so that corruption could be reduced or eliminated, so that horse trading could be prevented. If you have in Manipur one of the MLAs, the short of two, so you arrest one. These people can be kidnapped. These people can be arrested.
I have a very
So
simple...
everybody has to protect their
I
herd together.
I have a very simple
The unethical
question.
methods.
Nalin,
Faye, can I come in?
Nalin,
I don't know
just
whatever
one
strategy
question and then
means.
you can respond. Just one question. My simple question to Nalin is this. Should the governor be taking a decision based purely on arithmetic, or does chemistry play a role as well in the decision to invite? I mean, conventionally speaking, you would bat for arithmetic and not chemistry.
Whose chemistry?
Precisely. So, I mean, does he have to bother himself with the chemistry between coalition
BJP's
partners, or does he
chemistry.
have to look at arithmetic?
I hope he doesn't have to bother about
Let me
BJP
first-
chemistry.
And I think part of your answer will come out. Part of my answer will come out in what I want to respond to Mr. Tulsi. I think the SR Bomai judgment must be seen in context of the complete misuse of Article 356, which has been used by the Congress party for almost about 100 and plus times in its 55 odd years. And SR Bomai was really conclusive, the 9 benches, about that, and that's where the final test came. What the other aspects are the outcomes of that entire thing. So that is the first point I made. The second point I made is when you're looking at stability, so there is a paper stability, there is a real stability. So by that logic, the Congress party is a democratic party. By real standards, it's not, it's a dynasty. They are entitled to have one
The
family
real means
determine
stability in the
leadership. They are
eyes of the
entitled to.
BJP.
But on the other side,
Can I-
paper,
can I come in?
On paper,
Faye, can I come in?
on
I mean, you've
paper,
given
there is
so much
democracy.
time to,
Same
Nalin
argument
Kohli,
is the same argument is also for the so-called 1 minute. I'm not finished. The same argument is also for the stability factor is that there is a paper stability that is being touted, which I'm saying again and again on television channels by all
Okay, so Nalin
spokespersons
Kohli, here's
directly
my
from the
question.
Congress
All right, Nalin
or
Kohli,
those
here's
who
my
are
question.
with the
I understand what
but
you're
come
saying.
independently.
You're saying
Well,
the
therefore,
coalition
Faye,
is on
can I
paper
come in?
and
You've given
therefore
so
it
much
may
time
not
to
be
Nalin
stable.
Kohli.
You're not putting them
I mean,
up,
this is-
blocking them
How
up,
are you going to find the extra 8 seats? And you will not be able to find the extra 8 seats unless you break some part of another party. So where is the stability in that? You will also be forming a last-minute coalition.
But there is also a possibility, and I'm saying it as bluntly as that you are believing the BJP is the instigator or the catalyst to that whole thing. I'm pointing out that there exists also a condition precedent within the coalition, so-called coalition that the Congress and the JDS are speaking of. Already, there is disquiet on that side and there is a paper stability put. So when you ask the question, is it arithmetic? Theoretically, you are talking about the arithmetic, but the chemistry within those own party, you are ignoring that.
All right.
Or the chemistry
Salman
between
Soz,
the
respond,
party.
please.
Faye,
Is there
I mean,
disquiet
this is
between
very
the
unfortunate
JDS
that
and Salman Soz?
I've
Salman
received-
Soz. Go ahead.
Look, I'm sorry. What kind of chemistry do you have with the PDP? You've ruined the state. What chemistry did you have when the governor invited you? You have zero chemistry with these people.
No,
you're
no,
like
excuse
oil
me,
and
that is
water.
a government that's
but
in
you formed the
function.
government with the
No, no,
PDP.
but just because
that
your
time it was
entire
okay.
no,
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 I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Soos,
I'm
why
sorry.
do you keep
Nalin,
running
look.
down the PDP?
Nalin,
That's a
No,
government
Nalin
which is
Kohli,
No, no,
let
no,
him-
why
let him-
one
let
minute?
him
Why
finish
should I
his-
give you
let
one
us-
minute?
Let him finish
On
his
what
point.
basis should I
Mr.
give-
Kohli,
let me speak.
Nalin Kohli, let him
Let
finish
me
speaking,
speak.
please.
You've been
And you can
speaking for
rebut
such a
after
long
he's
time.
done.
I'm sorry. Look, I'm
Salman
sorry.
Soos, please carry on.
This is too much, Nalin. You've received the most. You've received
No,
the
no,
most
make
time
your
on
point,
the show.
Salman. Make your
I've
point,
received
make your point.
disproportionately less time. Look, the fact of the matter is that the governor has no magic formula for determining whether there is chemistry or not. The governor has a written statement from the Congress party and the JDS that we are together, along with 2 independents. That comes to 118. I don't understand how else the governor is supposed to divine whether there can be a viable government or not. If after we have a floor test, we have a government that does not that falls for any reason, that's a separate matter. But right now, the numbers are in our favor. I wasn't, by the way, talking about some constitutional arrangement by which vote shares are important. I'm just talking about the numbers, the number of seats, the number of MLAs that the JDS and the Congress party have. They're more than the number of MLAs that the BJP has.
All right,
That's
all right.
as simple as that.
Okay, Salman Soos,
the moral argument is that
here's
the
the
Congress party
unfortunate
increased its
position the
vote share.
Congress has also put itself
actually
in.
increased our
One second. Let me read out what Rahul Gandhi said in March 2017 after the Goa elections and the Manipur elections. He said, we won the assembly polls in Manipur, Goa and Punjab. The BJP has used money to form the government in Goa and Manipur. They have stolen the government from us. Mr. Chidambaram said, a party that comes in second has no right to form the government. The BJP is stealing the elections in Goa and Manipur. Mr. Digvijay Singh said it's absolutely wrong on the part of the BJP to grab power when the mandate was clearly given to the Congress by voters by virtue of it being the single largest party. Rahul Gandhi went on to say they're saying it's okay for them to misuse the office of the governor. In the 2 states where we won, democracy has been undermined by the BJP. Now,
So basically what you're saying is both parties have a past.
yes.
Both parties are ready to adjust according to
Convenience.
the convenience, and will
No, but
use
how's
those
this is
precedents.
false
I think
equivalence,
right in the
Faye. This
beginning,
is false equivalence.
right in the beginning, Nalin Kohli
is it
said
false
that there are all kinds of precedents. The wisdom of the governor will prevail, but the governor cannot be using his total discretion. There's
Right.
a big difference. He has to apply something which then the next day or the day after on the floor of the House looks stable, so that it doesn't become a ridiculous thing that there is, he invites X and within 2 days they fall, or 7 days they fall and all. So really speaking, I don't think now the precedents, political or constitutional norms, are going to be in play here, because everyone can present argument. We've got 2 fine lawyers on your panel.
Yes.
But what is really going to make a difference is the governor should not be seen to be doing something which looks hasty and unprepared.
Right. And Mr. Salman Soos, if you were to respond to the quotes I just read out from leaders of your party, which technically, if I were to use the same quote right now, it would work against the Congress.
No, I mean, Arun Jaitley said that in the case where there is a post-poll alliance, the governor, it's perfectly fine for the governor.
Precisely. So both parties have used convenience
to form the government, and that is no, but that is not. Look, Faye, we led in Goa. BJP came down drastically. This incumbent chief minister lost. We had 17, they had 12. We were 3 short. We were not.
This is exactly the argument being made by the BJP right now. This is the argument being made by the BJP right now.
No, but the BJP has no numbers. But the BJP doesn't have any numbers. Faye, we were one shot. One of the independent MLAs in Manipur was coming, and he was arrested at the airport and given to the BJP. That is how it was done in Manipur. I'm sorry, that is nothing compared to what is going on in Karnataka. In Karnataka, they're far short of the majority mark. They have not, despite the fact that Karnataka routinely changes its government, we managed to increase our vote share. That means, this whole idea of
Salman, they're not far short of the
happened. In
majority.
fact,
They're 8 seats short of the
I
majority.
need to come in for a minute, please.
Mr. Kohli?
But we have the majority now. We have 118 seats. That is the majority. What else is a majority? We have 118 seats.
Right. All
Two
right. Nalin
parties have
Kohli.
come
Nalin
together
Kohli
with two
respond.
independents.
Nalin Kohli
That is
respond, and then
118.
I'll bring in the rest of the panel for closing statements. Nalin Kohli, please.
Yeah. Well, I think the first part is, of course, Mr. Soos can't, and he certainly can't speak against his own supreme leader or a senior leader like Mr. Chidambaram. So there was no answer on that. The second is, in Manipur, he has quoted twice in this show that the person was arrested and handed over to the BJP. I have not seen an FIR till date. I have not seen anywhere a statement to that effect. In effect, what it is, so this was a commodity, according to
you
him, a
control the
gentleman who won
government.
the election, who was transferred
You
immediately
control
to
the
the BJP, and then after that, he went. So exactly. So this is an allegation with no foundation. It is just as much as their plan of so-called numbers, everything.
Oh, yeah,
The third
yeah,
is
yeah.
about the
We
PDP.
know.
Well, I'll tell you about Kashmir since you brought it up 3 times. Jammu and Kashmir wouldn't have been in such a mess if we didn't have Nehru and we did not have the Congress party messing it up for decade after decade.
Oh my God!
Are
Please
we
stop
really,
this thing about Pandit Nehru. He was a
Mr.
freedom
Nalin
fighter. You
Kohli,
people
are
should
we
be
really
ashamed.
discussing
You people should be
Nehru at this
ashamed
point?
of
I don't
bringing
have
up his
enough
name.
time to go back 70 years in history, and I certainly don't have it. The last time we brought this up, someone
It
brought
is
up Tipu
shameful. You
Sultan,
not
and I
even
don't
know.
have
I was
enough
showing the
time to
mirror.
go back that
I
far.
was showing a
not be
mirror.
grateful for
You see, the
Pandit
mirror
Nehru's
shows
service
you
to
the
the country.
truth, irrespective what the
No, you're not showing a
in
mirror.
fairy tales
You're
we read. The
ungrateful.
mirror
You
shows you
people
the
are
truth.
ungrateful.
All right.
You know,
Don't get
you
derailed.
people
Let
should
me
be
bring in
grateful
Mr.
that he
Tulsi.
fought for
Mr.
this
Tulsi.
country and fought
So
for his
obviously
freedom.
there are precedents on both sides.
Mr.
So
Soos, when you use adjectives, you just show you have no arguments left.
one second.
people did
Mr.
not
Tulsi,
fight you
Mr.
on
Tulsi,
I
the
can
governor
only
could
say-
use either one, could go either one way right now. It's
Yes.
anybody's guess which way he decides to go.
What are you talking about?
No, I want to say that the governor, they should be clear-cut precedents, and clear-cut instructions are there in Bomai judgment. It is to eliminate or avoid the mess that is created otherwise by horse trading. And the governor is not bothered about chemistry. The chemistry doesn't mean that it has to be the chemistry of the central government. You can't bring in chemistry, etc. Yeah, it's pure arithmetic. If somebody claims a written support of a majority, the governor is under an obligation to invite them to form the government and prove their majority on the floor of the House. That's all. If we will do a great disservice to the institution of the governor if we bring in things like chemistry and likability, and you see, no subjective power should be vested, because otherwise they are after all agents of the central government.
You
So
know,
that-
I just
that's
want to
not
point out
going-
to our
that's going
viewers
to
the visual that
undermine
you're looking at right now
democracy.
is Mr. Devagowda arriving at the Ashoka Hotel, where the Congress leaders are already in a huddle. As you can see, he's an elderly gentleman, but he has a very sharp mind, and it's very likely a lot of this, negotiation and coalition came from him, because we saw his son constantly refer back to him for every move. And I want to ask this question as a citizen right now, and I know that if we continue to have this conversation, we could go round and round in circles, and there's no right answer, at least at this point. What happens when there are three parties, all three parties, right now desperate to form the government, desperate to keep the other out, desperate in some way to cordon off some of the power? There's obviously favors exchanging hands, understandings that are being made. Where does that leave the citizen? Once this whole mess is done and the dust is settled, someone has formed a government. Where will the citizen ever be a priority for a government that has been formed in this manner, Vinay?
Look,
Batado, I need to get up.
the obvious and the honest answer to this question is, no matter who now ends up getting invited by the governor or we are looking at a very unstable, uncertain, and a frankly difficult period for the state of Karnataka, because clearly whichever party is going to be in power, the other side is going to prove to be a major irritant, if not a complete non-cooperative movement that may happen in the assembly. Number one. Number two, you mentioned about Devagowda and how he may have been the brain. Not just the brain for this election. My personal sense tells me that he's the kind of person who a lot of what he's doing today is actually aimed for the politics of the
2019.
next 1 year.
Right.
So there is a bit of a positioning exercise that is also going on, and I think he wants to be in the situation where he positions himself in a particular way in terms of the perception battle.
Is Karnataka in for a bad 5 years, a choppy 5 years?
I think I won't know whether it's choppy or unstable or something, because You know, there have been unstable governments and very
No, but
governments
will
like.
they focus on fixing, and you know, and here's where my disappointment arises. Forgive me for interrupting you. We talked about the fact that, and we had reporters who traveled the length and breadth of the state. Water is a massive issue. Jobs is a massive issue right now. Health is a massive issue across Karnataka. Farmers are suffering. But the election, as we saw, the campaign was about Hindus, was about Muslims, was about caste, was about language, about Kannada versus Hindi. It was about everything but the issues that people actually wanted solved. At this rate, we'll never have those issues solved.
Well, that has unfortunately become more or less a norm now, because Vikas has gone on a holiday, may have even retired and left the building, the conversations, the national conversations are about these things now, and political campaigns are built around these things. So that's a real problem. I think the citizen of Karnataka at this moment must be desperately praying to say, we've given someone a mandate, please come and start looking after our needs, because we desperately deserve them. Kaveri is something that's waiting to be sorted out, and it was
And
put
waiting
on
for
hold.
the campaigns to end in order to be
It was
sorted
put on
out.
hold because nobody had the time, the government didn't have the time. So those are the issues, Mahanadi, those are the issues now that are going to be addressed, have to be addressed.
So here are the issues, and this is where I'm going to leave this conversation because we've run out of time. I thank my panelists, but while unfortunately for the people of Karnataka, the chances of having your promises met seem slim given the manner in which this government is going to be formed, however it's going to be formed, whomsoever forms the government, it will be cobbled together by power-hungry people who are either trying to cobble together power, or they're trying to keep somebody else out of power. You and I are the last on their priority lists, if we're on the list at all. The issues that we focused on were the fact that Bangalore needs infrastructure. We have a problem of water logging that happened the night before the election that nobody addressed. The water is polluted, the lakes are polluted. There's no water all across the state of Karnataka. The Kaveri issue has not been solved. The Mahadayi issue has not been solved. There are great education institutions, but no jobs. Nobody has any job to go to after they graduate from these colleges. And there are some severe problems when it comes to the farm sector and to the farmers of Karnataka. But the message I want to give the people of Karnataka and all of those people in a huddle tonight in Bangalore looking to form a government, irrespective of who you are, who meets the demands and forms the government, we will remain constant. We will ensure, we will be dogged, we'll be annoying, we will be a complete thorn in your sight for the next 5 years until you get some work done or all work done, because we're here right now to represent the citizen. You might have forgotten that you're representing the citizens, but we will not. We will bring up these issues over and over again until we have some solution there for the people of Karnataka, because we believe that's what we owe the people of Karnataka. Thanks for watching.